keys are to the glory days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback podcast time. Welcome to the show, everyone. Game reaction. The San Francisco 49ers are able to defeat division rival Seattle Seahawks. And don't look now, ladies and gentlemen, but the 49ers, as of right now, are number one in the division. 3-3 tied with the Seahawks, but they have a leg up because they've beat them head-to-head. Now, of course, Arizona can catch the 49ers and take over. They have been doing very good in the division. They're 2-0 right now, but for the short period of time, the 49ers are back in the mix, and they're 3-3. They're at 500. It's not where they want to be, but it's a lot better than what was the alternative. And so you get a big win against a divisional rival who's number one in the division coming into the game. You got to feel good and feel comfortable about where you're at right now. And it's good. And what's up to David V? Says hashtag TCC, let's go, baby. It's exciting. And David Campbell says what everyone should be feeling. Hey, Ant. Weird game. And David, you're 100% accurate. Whether it was, the fact the 49ers looked like they were in complete control up 23-3 after that first drive of the second half, only to have a kick return that goes the house and goes the distance by Laviska Shenault. And I think it's got everyone thinking the same thing. Can the kicker even kick it out of the end zone? It didn't appear that he was capable of doing it. Now, unfortunately, he suffers an injury at the end of the football game, and I don't even know if he's going to be the 49ers kicker moving forward, but that's a real question mark. If he can't kick it out of the end zone, they might need to go back to the open market and find a kicker that can. That changed this game for sure. 14 straight points, and then it looks like the 49ers are going to catch a break. You have the penalty on the punt, and the ball definitely hits the returner's finger. It is clear as day on the Prime Video feed, and the NFL says, oh, we don't have that feed. How? NFL, are you not at least a subscriber to Amazon Prime? You can't put on the telecast and see how do they have a look that you don't have? It's crazy, but there's a lot of weirdness in this football game. I thought it was a completely interesting game for sure, and weird might be one of the things you say. And David says, can Wisnowski kick it out of the end zone? Well, here's one of the things that Brian Schneider did when he came to San Francisco. Mitch Wisnowski used to handle kickoff duties. And the problem was his punting was suffering because his leg was getting tired from handling the duties. That's why one of the reasons they went away from Robbie Gould, they didn't want Wisnowski to have to handle it anymore. And Robbie Gould wasn't able to consistently get it down where they wanted it to be with the hang time they wanted it to be. That's why they pivoted to Jake Moody. Longer field goals, but also the ability to kick it into the end zone or out of the end zone with the stronger leg and take that pressure off Wisnowski. So I don't know. I mean, I think Wisnowski handled things better in his career than what we got tonight. That was a real problem when it came to what was going on with the kickoffs. And what's up to traffic? And traffic, I'll get to you in 1 second. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I really appreciate it. If you're listening audio platform, 49ers Cutback on Believe Network, please give it a 5-star rating. And if you're going to bet with Bet Online. Bet Online is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything sports betting. Every stat, matchup, breakdown, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during games. With the largest catalog of odds on everything from football, Major League Baseball playoffs, NHL, NBA, to political props. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker or unwind with one of our over 150 slot games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. With America's most trusted site for online wagering. Bet Online, the game starts here. So I wanted to get to traffic, and traffic says, what up, TCC? All is good in the world. It's not ending first place somehow, baby. Make no mistake about it. Something needs to change on these kick returns. It's horribly bad. Yeah, you know what? It's one of those things that you look at the kickoff, and I thought that they actually did a pretty good breakdown of the kickoff coverage. You saw that when they went down there, you had an opportunity to potentially get a play on it. You had Mahoney, the young guy, he's stepping up, and he's looking to make a play, probably filling a role that would have normally been George Odom, but George Odom is thrusted out into the starting lineup. I'm not sure about that, but he steps up and he's got him there. Then you got Jalen Graham, who also has an opportunity to make the tackle, and they miss. I don't know if this one is on scheme. I'd have to break it down on all 22. I think that this one might go to lack of execution. There's been plenty on scheme this year from Coach Brian Schneider. I'm not sure this is one of those ones. You have two guys, one of them breaking down in space to make the tackle, the other one coming back and should have been able to make a tackle, tries to throw a shoulder at big guy like Laviska Shenault, and it didn't work out. Really tough. What's up, Lou? Lou's in the house says, Ant, and then follows it up with special teams are atrocious. It's definitely not the best phase of the 49ers game. It hasn't been. They've made key critical mistakes all year. Now, what's crazy is, right, over the last 2 weeks, special teams has also actually made plays, right? Last week, you had the blocked field goal return for a touchdown. This week, Darrell Luter Jr. knocks the ball out on a kickoff, and the 49ers are able to recover. So it's interesting that, yes, special teams continues to be one of the worst, 31st best when it comes to DVOA. They've got to get a lot better. But it's interesting that over the last 2 weeks, they've actually started making plays on special teams. Hopefully they can keep it up. And what's up, Permaculture? Says, Ant, love to see you online right after the win. Yeah, I'm glad to be here. You know, it's going to be a lot of fun to see what everyone has to say. It's always good to see what you guys are saying and how you guys are feeling. And I really appreciate Permaculture says, hey, everyone give it a thumbs up. Everyone give it a like. Really, really appreciate it. And Traffic says, I don't want to point out those special teams has come up big a couple times and should have had a punt turnover today. They should have. Conley was in perfect position on that play as the gunner. Once again, Conley, he's a phenomenal gunner. And so it was nice to see him back from the oblique injury. I thought he was in perfect position. It was a penalty. That was a great challenge by Kyle Shanahan, right? Because, I mean, when you watched it live, I mean, for whatever reason, I couldn't remember exactly if the guy touched it or not. I thought it was a weird, awkward play all the way around. But when he threw the flag, I'm like, he must have touched it because Kyle has been reluctant to throw the flag this year. He must have got a bird's eye view. And how is it that Kyle Shanahan and the coaches see that this ball is touched, but the NFL can't see it in their command center? One game going on. It's really, really crazy. So, yeah, they have been making plays. It could have been 2 turnovers for the special teams, which would have been absolutely huge. And thanks so much for subscribing, brother Contreras. I really appreciate it. Thanks for coming through and subscribing to the channel. And everyone, feel free to subscribe. I really appreciate it. Campbell says Wisnowski is consistently good too. He buried, I know 2 for sure, inside the 5-yard line. I mean, he is dead to rights right now. The spin on the ball, where he's getting it to land, and we got good coverage on top of that. Chris Conley again with another great job down the field. Really, really fantastic. So you're right. I mean, they've been doing a very good job with Wisnowski. And part of the reason where if they don't have to have him handle kickoffs, I'm all for it because he's punting at a high level. Now, the 49ers are one of the best in the league about least amount of punts. They just haven't had many opportunities for Wisnowski, and that's the way you got to like it. Move the sticks, move the ball, control the clock. 49ers have done that pretty well, but when Wisnowski's been asked to punt, he's done a pretty good job. I think early in the season, there wasn't the distance on his punts that we are used to seeing. I think a lot of that's probably still he was overcoming the injury, but today he was absolutely on point. Traffic says, did you hear the excuse the NFL gave for not overturning it? They said something like they didn't have the enhanced camera view, just the regular in-camera view. That's such a cop-out. Absolutely agree. There is absolutely no way that the NFL shouldn't have every single view that a telecast has. Why is it that Amazon Prime and the viewers got to see a clearer picture of video than the referees or the decision makers in the command center? Makes no sense. A simple Amazon subscription would have allowed the NFL to see the enhanced view. It is a complete cop-out. They made a mistake. They blew it. And the fact that everyone called them out on it is the reason why they put out that cockamamie story. It's garbage. You've got to be better than that. The XFL, the UFL, whoever has been better at this for 3 or 4 years now. You are a billion-dollar company that does a good job of having the most unique camera angles, and you can't figure this out? Come on now. You could see Kyle Williams when the ball hit off his knee way back when cameras weren't even that clear, in 2011, but you couldn't see the finger completely go up and the ball change spin. It's just a ridiculous idea. Didn't really like it at all. David says, did you agree with Guerrero sliding down on that long run? No. I was wanting him to score a touchdown right there because it wasn't a situation to where Seattle didn't have timeouts. Go ahead and get in the end zone. You put yourself up by more than one score, or even, you get the chance to go up 2 scores. In that case, you're up. That's exactly what you want. Now, I understand him going down, right? It's not a totally terrible decision, but I mean, just like Juice did going up the middle for the touchdown, do it. Get in the end zone, get the touchdown, let your defense play. So Guerrero he's fast because Witherspoon, it took everything he had to catch him. That's the first time I think that we've seen Guerrero be able to open it up in the regular season. And boy, was that a tremendous run. The outside zone play, he sees the hole where he's supposed to cut up, gets his foot in the ground, goes vertical, and then gets skinny going through a tiny hole. This is the best run we've seen from Isaac Guerrero as a pro. And those are the type of holes you see that McCaffrey consistently went through and had big-time plays. Guerrero did a fantastic job. And then you see the ability to outrun the safety, to get to the outside, and then get vertical and almost outrun everyone. It was a really nice play from Isaac Guerrero. And overall, it was a good game for the 49ers on the ground. Guerrero had 10 carries for 99 yards, most of it coming on that long 66-yard run on the explosive. Jordan Mason was having himself a great game, 9 for 73. He did have 38-yard explosive run, but you're seeing, Guerrero 9.9 yards per carry, Mason 8.1, inflated by explosives, but you got to give him credit for the explosives. Sometimes you chip at a defense, chip at him with a little bit of yards, chip at him with a little bit of yards, and then here you go with a huge explosive. And Brock was only asked to carry it 4 times. Patrick Taylor came in and got a little bit of work. Debo 4 for 15. I thought he helped out a lot, but the 49ers go 33 carries for 228 yards at a 6.9 yard average and 1 touchdown. That's getting back to the basics. That's getting back to 49ers football, is running the football and then playing off of that. And it allowed Brock Purdy to have a pretty consistent game overall. This sounds more like Brock Purdy numbers, 18 of 28 for 255 yards at a 9.1 average, 3 touchdowns in this football game, and 129.3 rating. Absolutely killed it. And that's what you're hoping the offense is going to do, that they're going to have that kind of success. It was great. Lou said, I'd have to watch it again, but I didn't think he slid down. I thought the guy grabbed Guerrero's leg. He did hit Guerrero's foot. So I don't know for sure if Guerrero slid on purpose or if he slid as a result of getting the heel clipped. I don't know that for sure, but he did a pretty good slide afterwards. So I'm not for sure if it was of his own will that he chose to slide or if it was because of the defender. I think it was probably the defender was getting to him, so he went ahead and slid. But I don't think that was his goal. That could have been that would have been his first career touchdown. I don't think Guerrero wanted to stop there. I think he wanted to get into the end zone. And this is an interesting game, too, because the defense played so good in this matchup. I thought the defense played fantastic. You're without Charvarius Ward, and you don't have your guys on the inside. Jordan Elliott's missing. You're missing. You don't have Javon Hargrave for the season. What are you going to do on the inside? And the 49ers absolutely answered the bell in this football game. You look at the opposing team's rushing. Kenneth Walker had 14 carries for 32 yards, 2.3 average. Wow. Zach Charbonnet, 5 carries for 20 yards. They had 20 carries in the game for 52 yards at a 2.6 yard average. Run defense on display. And this is a Seattle Seahawks offense that's been averaging 105 yards per game on the ground. And a lot of the reason people felt that their run game wasn't as effective this season was Kenneth Walker missed a lot of time because of the oblique injury. But the 49ers came in and they did what they've been doing over the last 3 weeks. Nick Sorenson has had this defense playing run very well. They've been squeezing things down. They've been playing tough, and they've been run blitzing. Now, last week, in the second half, they didn't tackle well. But that wasn't a Nick Sorenson problem. That was a 49ers defensive problem. Well, guess what? Today, they rallied to the football. Everyone got involved. I seen guys, if he was already wrapped up, they were jumping in and grabbing ankles and trying to help get him down. They were putting in effort. They were making it happen. And that was on a short turnaround week. This team was motivated to get out there and get a win. And you know what? Everyone started to feel like this game could have got away, but the defense continued to stand up and make plays. And I get it. Seattle had the 14-point swing. But really, when you looked at it, the 49ers defense played well. They had the late touchdown. That's great. They gave up 17 points in this football game. But on that last drive, they made Seattle use a ton of time. So it was a great performance. Geno Smith threw the ball 52 times in this game. Ridiculous. Most of them, I'm sure, on the last couple drives. But he goes 30 of 52 for 312, 2 interceptions. And you get the 2 rookies that get the interceptions. Malik Mustafa on the overthrow in the first drive. Right place, right time. Great job by Malik. Unfortunately, he suffered an ankle injury. Hopefully it's not too significant and he can come back. I think he was having his best game. He was flying around, making tackles, being involved. I thought he looked good. And then Renardo Green ran that route better than DK Metcalf, undercut it, and gets the big interception at a pivotal time for the San Francisco 49ers. Phenomenal to see young players step up and make plays like that. Huge fans of how they were handling business right there. And you know what? The 49ers got some stuff going on in the red zone as well. Like Traffic said, loving the Purdy to Kittle connection is exactly the answer we need in the red zone. Kittle's having a great year to start, 5 TDs in as many games. And let's talk about Brock Purdy in the red zone today. Those were pinpoint accuracy footballs. The one to the sideline, gets it past the outstretched arm of the defender. And how about George Kittle? Not enough to just get 2 feet in, but he toe taps and gets his feet in for 3. Phenomenal throw and catch. And the second one, how about the design by Kyle Shanahan to get the 2 running backs to clear it out, and George Kittle run the route to the goal line, and Brock Purdy not hesitate and get the ball on him in the perfect timing. This was a lot better in the second half with red zone offense for the 49ers. It's still not completely answered. They still struggle from the 10-yard in, more than I've seen them struggle in years past. But you saw some developments with how Brock Purdy was going through reads. You saw some creativity from Kyle Shanahan. I liked it overall. It was an improvement. Is it overall fixed? No. They got a lot more work to do, and they're going to be going against a very good Kansas City Chiefs defense next week, so they're going to have to figure it out. But it was at least a move in the right direction. And Dave is not really sold on this defense. So the Chiefs are going to potentially torch this defense. I don't trust this D at all. Well, it's going to be a good test. Let's see what the Kansas City Chiefs do next week. I mean, the Super Bowl, the 49ers played against the Chiefs offense about as good as you could play. But it's tough. They got Patrick Mahomes. You know, they've got Juju Smith-Schuster. I'm having to think about the guys they got, right? They got a deep threat now out wide. So we're going to be getting into that all week with Xavier Worthy. But still, I think the 49ers have played pretty good. I'm not really hating on what they've done over the last few weeks. What's up, DJ? Says that reasoning for not overturning that punt is embarrassing for the NFL. Couldn't agree more. Lou says the injuries keep stocking up, and it's worrisome. It is, and it's worrisome around the league. If you look at the Seahawks, they were dealing with injuries. You just go through and look team to team, and as so many players are out, it's going to be a war of attrition. The main thing is how many guys you have in your pipeline you can bring in. Banks dealing with the problems today with cramps. I thought Spencer Burford stepped in and did a pretty good job. The Niners have a guy ready to roll. That's what you need. Charvarius Ward doesn't play. Renardo Green, is it perfect? No, but he comes in, makes plays, gets some stuff done. Hufanga gets put on IR. Here comes Malik Mustafa. He gets it done. Now we've got question marks about Malik, but the 49ers right now have young guys stepping up. Flanagan Fowles in play. D. Winters had his second start of the season. So you've just seen them be able to have answers. Do you lose something with the next man up mentality? Yeah, of course. They're not as good as the guy that's starting above them, but at least so far they've been able to withstand. At some point they might not be able to, and I think it's always a concern. But, you know, it's something that you definitely got to like. Campbell says too inconsistent. They had many plays where they had alignment issues and are susceptible to giving up the long ball. I think if there's one thing that we've seen so far from the back end of this defense, you're right. Susceptible to the long ball has been a little bit of a problem. and they've got to make sure they don't allow people behind him. On my game preview show, that was one of the things I said about DK. Don't let him behind you. You just got to make him win underneath, make him catch the ball consistently underneath. And, they let him get by a couple of times. Luckily, one of those got called back because of a illegal motion penalty, but he definitely beat him deep. So I think that is a concern, and we'll see. I mean, if anyone's going to dial it up, it's going to be Kansas City, and I'm sure we'll get into that as well. Texas TO, what's up, Uncle Rob, says Bosa was in beast mode tonight. Hashtag TXTCC. Yeah, it was definitely, and that's hashtag Texas TCC. So you got to love that coming from Uncle Rob. And, Bosa was doing a good job tonight, consistently putting pressure. I thought Floyd did the same thing. They kept Geno Smith uncomfortable in the pocket. It's enough to keep Geno uncomfortable. When he's uncomfortable, he starts making a little bit mistakes. Seen him sail the one to Malik Mustafa with Bosa bearing down on him. We've seen another one where he threw the ball incomplete to Jackson Smith-Njigba because he saw Bosa and Malik Collins coming towards him. So they did enough to get him off his spot and increase his internal clock and make him get rid of the football sometimes before he wanted. And that was enough for the 49ers. So it's not always about sacks, but Bosa was definitely putting pressure on him consistently, and that was nice to see. And that's what you're hoping you're going to get. I like this from David Campbell. Kittle Lumen leaped his wife nicely too, right? You've got Kittle and Juszczyk going up and leaping up there with their wives, and then Juszczyk gets the fullback touchdown. And congratulations to Kyle Juszczyk. That was a great play call by Kyle Shanahan. They all bit on the play outside. He goes right at the middle for the touchdown. Then he gets to give the ball to his wife. I like it. The Lumen leap. We'll keep that one in the bag. Maybe they'll keep doing that the way that we go. Traffic says, I hope we see Pearsall debut versus the Chiefs. We got to be getting close to Pearsall potentially working his way back at some point. Hugo says, what's up, TCC? Any word on Wright and Mustafa? I haven't heard anything yet. And of course, I'm doing this live, so I haven't watched the presser at all to see what Kyle Shanahan said. I do know that Mustafa was dealing with an ankle. Usually if it's an ankle, it means it's some sort of a sprain. We don't know if it's a low ankle sprain or high ankle sprain. If it's a high ankle sprain, he's going to be out for a while. If it's a low ankle sprain, there's a chance, he could be ready for the Chiefs game. So we just don't know what we got with Mustafa. He was questionable at first, which means usually that's a better indication. If it's doubtful right away, it means it's something really significant. So at least when they're questionable, they go do imaging and test it out. But when it comes to Wright, I don't know. And the 49ers might have to get another kicker. I thought he did a good job. He was accurate in this football game. But I think that his kickoffs put the 49ers in some peculiar situations because he just couldn't get it into the end zone consistently and definitely not out of the end zone. I don't know if there's a kicker out there with enough leg to consistently kick it out, but if there is, that's really important part of this game that they need to figure out. So really huge. Mr. Corey says, and it was Pooney that sprung Garindo on that run. Yeah, Garindo, he had to hit the gas, but it was very good blocking, and Dominic Pooney on that side did a good job. Colton McKivitz did a good job. Dominic Pooney continues to improve at run blocking. And overall, I think the offensive line has been competing at a pretty high level this year. I think we've seen some bad penalties from Jake Brendel on the last 2 weeks. But I think that, he hasn't been playing terrible all the time. There's still very much inconsistencies. But I think that the other guys, the other four, have been a lot better. Banks, I don't know how he was doing in this game. I know he was late to the screen pass for Kyle Juszczyk. He was dealing with some cramps. And so I want to see what the film looks like compared from Banks to Spencer Burford, because I thought, we got to see some actual reps from Burford, and I thought that was interesting. But always good to see two young guys getting it done, and that was really, really nice. Mr. Corey says, can we bench Yedem already? I don't really hate Isaac Yedem's coverage. I know that there's some bad ones. The penalty on Noah Fant, I don't really like it a whole lot. But if you go back and you watch last week's game, he gave up one catch for 14 yards, and he played it wrong, and it was a pivotal time. But for the most part, they lined him up against DK Metcalf a lot in this football game. I think they have more faith and trust in Isaac Yedem than I think a lot of people do. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think they're ready to bench him. I think he's still playing well. And, maybe once Renardo Green gets even better and better, there'll be a conversation about Green being that third corner. But I thought Isaac Gedem came out and competed in this one. Lou says, what was that Odom that got beat by Metcalf and it got called back? He was definitely the closest to the play. So I don't know exactly what the coverage was. Unfortunately, when you watch the TV copy, you can't tell what the coverage is because they don't show the back end a lot. So I don't know if it's a single high, if you had a cover 3, but more than likely it was George Odom. And that has been one of the issues with him so far this season is he has been prone to jump on some movement when the receiver's running a route to the inside, and he will give up something down the field vertically. So yeah, that's definitely something that needs to get worked on. That is for sure. Clownman says, bam. I like that. Bam. Let's get it done. David Yang says, can we talk about how sick that throw Purdy made to Kittle on that first Kittle TD? Ball placement was masterful. Yeah, it was. You're completely on point. I mean, the throw is just outside the outstretched arms of the defensive back. It's actually pretty good coverage, but he puts it right to where only George Kittle can get to it. And it's exactly where it needs to be. Kittle doesn't have to adjust to the football. All he has to do is make the catch and focus on his feet getting down. It was pinpoint accuracy by Brock Purdy. The setup with his feet, the delivery with the football, the spin on the ball, everything was on point. And then give credit to George Kittle for getting his feet down. I mean, that is a tough play, and that's a tight end that's using his feet that way. We saw a wide receiver in DK Metcalf that couldn't get his toe in the back of the end zone, yet George Kittle toe tapping along the sidelines, looking pretty good. I thought that was really nice for George Kittle and for Brock Purdy. So yeah, major props to Brock Purdy on that play. Mr. Corey says, Yedem also had a blown coverage on Kenneth Walker, but Gino didn't see that. That would have been a touchdown. It could have been. Yeah, I once again, I don't know when the ball was released. So one of the things that's really tough to watch with the TV copy, and especially that angle they showed where they're showing the replay, and you obviously see Kenneth Walker continuing to run, is Kenneth Walker was not even a part of the progression, I don't believe. And so what happened was, I think they were already lining up to throw that ball underneath when you see Kenneth Walker get to daylight. And yes, Isaac Gedem's supposed to have him and all that. But it's always nicer to see the all-22 because sometimes when you see it on that, you'll be like, oh, that guy was open. But he came open after Gino was already dedicated to throwing the football. So I would love to see it in that angle. Now, if it comes out that, yeah, he missed that coverage, well, then that's on Isaac Gedem, and he's got to be better. But I just don't know from seeing the TV copy. And maybe you guys, to quote the NFL, maybe you guys saw a view that I wasn't capable of seeing. I don't know. But I get what you're saying, Mr. Corey. I mean, if he got beat deep, he can't get beat deep. Those are mistakes you can't make. I just see him when he's in coverage. It's gotten so much better from weeks 1 and 2. I think that he just keeps getting better each week. And remember, he missed a lot of training camp. So I'm not I'm not over the moon. Like, I think he's the best player on the team by any stretch of the imagination or the best cover guy. But I don't think it's been that bad. I think it's got to be expected that he's going to give up catches. He hasn't given up explosives like Ambry Thomas. That hasn't really been something that he's given up consistently. So that's good news, at least. Lou says Pooney should get a game ball. Dominic Pooney plays pretty well. I think there's a lot of game balls to go around in this one. Some guys made some good plays. But yeah, I think Dominic Pooney did a pretty good job. David Campbell said, why did you think about the first TD to Samuel? Looked like a dangerous looping pass. Yes, when he threw that football and the ball's traveling in the air, I don't know how everyone else is feeling, but I'm feeling like, is that ball going to come down in time? I mean, it felt like the ball should have had a little bit more zip on it to allow Deebo Samuel to catch it in front of the safety. So I don't know if Brock for sure saw the safety or not. I mean, we'll have to just trust Brock on that one. But I did think the ball had a little bit more air on it than I was expecting. And it floated and floated. Now it ends up working out perfectly because he catches it and the safety takes a bad angle and he's able to break it for a big-time touchdown. And give credit to Boye Mafi, the defensive end, for almost running him down from behind. That's a fast defensive end. But, yeah, I was a little nervous about that when I saw it in the air. I thought, uh-oh, because I seen the safety coming up, and he was coming up hard. And his aggressiveness is what actually causes the play to be explosive. So I really like that overall. Mr. Corey says, if Pearsall is good, then this is Kyle and John's best draft class. I agree. You're starting to see Ronaldo Green making plays, Dominic Pooney making plays, Malik Mustafa making plays, Isaac Garendo, Jacob Cowing is handling punt duties pretty well. I mean, that's your, top 4 round picks. They're really good. And yeah, if Pearsall is able to get in there and make plays, it's going to be huge for that draft class. It's really good. Mr. Corey says, Evan Anderson has played well too. Another rookie. Yeah, I think he's competed pretty well. He's made vast improvements since training camp in the preseason. He looks more active. He's definitely not a penetrator in a normal 49ers aggressive defensive tackle, but he's better against the run than some. He's able to hold his ground. If he can continue that, then I think the 49ers might have something there with Evan Anderson. So still getting used to seeing the Guardian cap out there. One time I seen it kind of flying off his head. I'm like, wow, that's interesting. Hugo says, NFL said they didn't have the enhanced look on punt return fumble. $2 billion contract on Prime. Y'all using coax cable for the feed NFL headquarters. My thoughts exactly. Doesn't make any sense at all. So yeah, I'm 100% behind that. It doesn't make any sense. David says Cowing needs a cleat change, and he made a fair catch on the 4-yard line. Yes, they have changed, just so everyone's aware. They have changed where you catch a punt now. It used to be you put your feet at the 10-yard line, and anything behind you, you go ahead and let it go. But the punters have gotten so good now on getting that spin that they've changed it to the 5. So these guys are going to get a little bit more depth. They'd like it to be the 7, but if they're at the 5-yard line, they'll still fair catch it because right now they got that spin. If it bounces at the 2 or 3, it might bounce back and they get you inside the 10 anyway. So a lot of times special teams are having to adjust, but I still like the old method, right? Put your feet at the 10 and hope if it goes over your head that you have a chance. So it's really big. And how about this? KNDR, a.k.a. Wish Anthony, a member for 37 months right here on YouTube, uses membership abilities for a super chat and says, rookies cooked them some seagulls tonight. 100%. They were roasted. And that's great news for the Niners. When you have young players able to step up and make plays, that's what you have to get from your young players. If you want to be able to withstand injuries and withstand some of the things that you're dealing with, you have to have young guys step up, and they did in this football game. David says, Ant, what's your take on the 4th and 3 punt after the Hawks just scored on a kickoff return? Felt like Kyle needed to go for it and get some momentum back. I think he thought about it. And I think there was another time where they really thought about going for it again if they would have got a little bit extra yardage. The aggressive nature of Kyle Shanahan, he kind of plays it safe sometimes. A lot of times you take things into account as a head coach. So I'm guessing he thought his defense was playing pretty well. So he was willing to go ahead and play field position and make Seattle go the full length of the field. And sometimes you have to do that. The aggressive nature at which you play can sometimes impact what happens to your defense. And you give the Seattle offense potentially a situation where they have a shorter field and they might change the game. So it's a kind of weighted approach. You got to figure out which way to go. In this case, he made the right decision, but it could have definitely went the other way too. I'm normally more aggressive, so I was down to go for it, especially 4th and 2. I'm going for it. 4th and 3, you start thinking about it. Maybe if you have Jordan Mason or Christian McCaffrey, you go for it. So it is some decisions to be made, but I think that's the thought process behind it for sure. Mr. Corey says the Broncos 3-game winning streak means no DJ Jones until 2025. I love that you're still on the DJ Jones bandwagon, and I would have loved to have got him as well. The good thing is the defensive line held up today. Now, they stopped the run, and they stopped the run at a high level. But, they've got to continue to get better. And let's see what happens with Jordan Elliott. Hopefully this long layoff, this mini bye, will help get Jordan Elliott back. He was playing pretty good. Him and Malik Collins, good for starters. Kevin Givens, Clea Davis as a rotation, pretty good. And, we got to give a little bit of credit to in this game. We haven't really talked about it. Robert Beal Jr., he made some big plays in this football game. Set the edge in the run game, made some good tackles. This was the best game I've seen from Robert Beal, at least at first glance, that I've seen his entire career. So that's at least promising as well, because we've seen Sam Okuwanu be able to make plays, but Beal Jr. played really well against the run today, which I think is more of Okuwanu's weakness compared to Okuwanu's a very good pass rusher, and he put that on display again today. Mr. Corey says, I saw Feliciano on the sideline in street clothes. Hopefully he's close to returning soon. Hopefully for Brendel. Yeah, I wonder when Feliciano is going to come back. I think it's feeling like maybe after the bye. And when he comes back, what does that mean for this 49ers offensive line? Will there be a shift at who's starting? Will they potentially put him at guard, or will they go with the center? Is he just now a rotational piece? I think there's a lot of things that are up in the air when it comes to John Feliciano. But how nice is that to know you're going to have a John Feliciano coming back for the interior part of your offensive line to stabilize it and make it even better. You've got a linebacker like Dre Greenlaw that's going to eventually come back and make you better at linebacker. And you have a player like Taldo Hufanga going to come back at safety for a second time. But also, you've got a player like Christian McCaffrey. 49ers are in the mix, and they've been without some of their absolute studs this year. So there's opportunities. David Cable says Renardo Green looks a bit like Lenore to me, plays bigger than he is and scrappy. Yeah, he does. He does play scrappy and big and bigger than he is. And you know what? Some of those things that he showed out there are intangibles that sometimes you just can't teach, right? But he's got aggressive style. He comes up, he's physical. I love that. That's the part of the Lenore. You get the hyena mentality. And I thought that's what you're getting from Renardo Green, the dog mentality. And of course, I've watched him all throughout his college career. And so I've been a huge fan. And that's why in the draft process, I was high on Renardo Green. I had him as a top 35 prospect in this NFL draft. Maybe that's a little high, but that's kind of where I was at with him because I thought he had the ability to play inside and out, but to make plays like he did today. And he's one of those guys that you put a big time player in front of him, he's going to compete. DK Metcalf, no problem. I'm going to compete with him. Malik Neighbors in college, no problem. I'm going to compete with him. I love that attitude. There's no one too big to go against De'Amara Lenore and Renardo Green. They are going to go out there and compete. And we'll see what happens with Charvarius Ward. But the 49ers have depth at cornerback. You have Demo. You have Isaac Yedem, right? You have Rock Yassin. You have Renardo Green. Like, they've got dudes on the back end, and they're still developing Darrell Luter Jr., who made a great special teams play today. Really, really good. Mr. Corey says, Ant, I love Hufanga, but I think this is his last season as a 49er. It's possible. I think Malik Mustafa has looked pretty good. Now, he's got to get better, more consistent, better communication on the back end, but it possibly could. Hufanga's dealing with a lot of injuries this year. We haven't seen him really round into form yet. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with him. But, yeah, it could be his last year in San Francisco. That's unfortunate. I really like him. And I wish that he could continue to play really well. I like his attitude. I like the way he plays, the energy that he brings. So I'm hoping that he's still going to come back because I do think the 49ers have been missing a veteran presence in the safety room. I think I like Jair Brown a lot. I like Malik Mustafa. They've got a lot of ability, but they're still young and they're still developing. They're still learning. And I want to see them get a little bit better at it. So, but overall, I mean, the 49ers just did a great job in this football game. They were able to handle business and get a big-time win over the Seattle Seahawks. And it's exactly what they had to do. They gave up some pass yards, a lot of those late in the football game. But the defense, was able to get it done. And you look at it, the 49ers have been scoring points. This is the first time they get to 36. And, they got to score in the 30s. This offense is too good not to score in the 30s. And then we've got to give credit to Fred Warner. Fred Warner continues to play at a high level. It's exactly what he's supposed to do. He's just really, really good. Hugo says, what are the 49ers going to do to fix special teams? Well, they've got to take some of the mistakes out. Number one, if the kicker can't kick it out of the end zone, then you need to get a different kicker. You need to find someone with a strong enough leg. That was too impactful in this game. And it felt like they just didn't have the leg to do it, which is shocking because he can kick a 59-yard field goal, or at least has in his career. So I was a little surprised by that. So if that's not something he can do, you definitely can't kick it at an angle. Take that part of the game out of it. Because if you take that part of the game out of it, really, this was a clean special teams performance. If they're kicking him out of the end zone, you don't have to worry about that coverage. Punt coverage was really good today. 49ers also had two opportunities where they could have forced turnovers. One of them they did get, the other the NFL messed up on. So it's really just about cleaning up mistakes. And one way you clean up kickoff mistakes is just take the whole play out of the game, let them start from the 30. I don't think the 49ers were capable of doing that today. So stick going to the basics, stick to working it, doing things right. But you got to maybe potentially replace Matthew Wright, and it might have to happen anyways because of the arm. So we'll see how it goes. And Mr. Corey says, do you think Mustafa can play free safety? Yeah, I think him and Jair Brown can both play free safety. They've been playing left and right now. I think it's more about instincts and less about speed. but both guys are more athletic and can do it. So I would like to see that. Mr. Corey says, I know it's a pipe dream, but do you want Robert Saleh back? And not right now. I'm okay with, I'll be honest, I'm okay with Nick Sorenson. I watched the All 22 and break it down on Patreon. And, over the first few weeks, it was rough. Nick Sorenson was definitely getting his footing, and it wasn't clean. But I think over the last 3 weeks, he's done a pretty good job. I think we've seen improvements in key areas for the 49ers. You look at their third down conversion rate allowed, it's gotten tremendously better, all the way down to 43%. You look at what they've done in the red zone, it's gotten better. They continue to have that number fall as well. So it has been a good job by him in key areas that were definitely problems before. And you have a game like today where they hold the Seattle Seahawks to just over 50 yards on the ground. I think it's a very good job. So, I mean, I've been kind of in the middle about him. And you look at today, the Seahawks were 7 of 16 on third down, but I wonder how many of those, came in the situations where they're trying to get first downs into the half and that sort of thing, where the offense or defense is playing off and kind of allowing that to happen. So overall, they did a pretty good job. They've consistently been good at it. One area they're not is fourth down, but once again, key situations. We'll see what the DVOA looks like. They've still been top 5 DVOA, and that's been really important. And they continue to win the turnover battle. Today, Brock Purdy had no turnovers, and that's exactly what the 49ers needed. I mean, I hit on the 2 offensive, wow, that's bold predictions this week. Brock Purdy will have no turnovers. Debo will get a touchdown. Both of those happened. Now, I did predict Demo was going to have a pick. Demo did not, but Renardo Green had the pick, and so did Malik Mustafa, which ultimately works out for the 49ers. Mr. Corey says, I owe Kyle an apology for Garendo. Well, it's Garendo has the ability. He has been missing holes this season. And so this was one where he did it exactly right. He pressed it to the outside. He saw the hole. He got vertical, and then he hit that speed. That's the part of the game they see the potential of what Garendo could be in this offense. So you see the potential. Now it's just got to be consistent. He's got to consistently see that hole, and they'll work on it. So what's up, Robert? Robert says, always easy to second guess before watching all 22. 100%. It's hard to you second guess things, and you watch the all 22 and you find out that, things didn't go the way, and there was lots of things. I was coming out of last week. I was frustrated with Kyle. I thought he wasn't creative enough in the red zone. What's going on? And then you watch the all 22 and you're like, actually, there was some creativity. He's getting four receivers on one side. He's doing this. He's doing that. He set up a couple runs. We missed a hole. Brock missed a guy here or there. And it just kind of compounds situations. And so, yeah, always wait to go to the all 22. So you give first impressions, and then you have to be willing to say, you know what? Actually, when I saw it, it was different. And I think that's always a good process to go. Mr. Corey says, I said the final score was going to be 31-28. That's a pretty good guess. I said it was going to be 27-23, and the 49ers scored 36 points. They did a really good job. The one who was the most right, the Madden sim. They had this game, 49ers scoring 35 points in the game. So give credit to the Madden sim for getting it closer than I did. That's for sure. Hugo says it's going to be a war of attrition week 6 and your 5th running back taking meaningful snaps. Crazy. Yep. I mean, that's how it is sometimes. And 49ers are suffering at running back. We'll see what happens with Jordan Mason's shoulder. Hopefully he's going to be good to go when they play Kansas City. And then we're always waiting what's going to happen when you get Christian McCaffrey, back. I don't know. WTM says, Coach Ant, what grade do you give our offensive line? Well, I think that they're going to get a pretty good grade. I'm going to give them a B in this game. It could be a B+ once I go over 22, but, I think they did a pretty good job. They're put in some tough situations, but they're creating holes in the run game. They were constantly giving Brock Purdy just enough time to throw. I think they've done a pretty good job this year. So, yeah, I'm kind of behind them a little bit. Filthy Casual says, how do the 49ers fix special teams? Do we lose another kicker tackling? Yeah, I think we lost another kicker tackling. And I think they just got to, fix the problem. I think the problem was compounded by the fact that our kicker wasn't able to kick the ball out of the end zone today. You wondered early on in the game if it was strategic. They were just trying that to get, maybe a stop and get Laviska Shenault backed up and the Seahawks backed up. But it was apparent later on they just didn't have the ability to kick it out of the end zone. So that's something they're probably going to have to figure out. They probably thought they could get a line drive and that he could get it out of the end zone. But I think he proved in this game that he can't. So that's going to be one element they have to fix, because that was the biggest glaring element. They fixed punt coverage. It was a lot better today. He actually kicked well. He didn't have any missed field goals, which was good to see the 49ers do. So we definitely needed that. Mark, what's up to my guy, Mark? How's it going? This is a great win for the Niners today. Green looking like he's going to be a staple for the Niners secondary moving forward. Yeah, my guy, Mark. Yeah, you know what? I think that Renardo Green is improving vastly. From the first time I saw him at training camp till now, he looks more comfortable, and there's no situations that seem too big for him. He's not afraid to take on the biggest and the baddest and the best. Is he going to win every rep? No, but he's going to go compete his butt off, and I love that about our secondary. They're hungry, and Renardo Green's one of those guys. He's going to be a good one. I mean, he's going to be real good in the future. I love it. And, you know, Robert says this, Saleh is making $20K a day. Why would he want to coach this year? Yeah, he definitely doesn't coach. The question is, does he become a consultant, right? You become a consultant. You kind of sit back and you help a team. If you're just wanting to be a part of football, then you still get to make that money. But I think he's going to go on a long vacation. I don't expect him to be too involved in anything as far as any of the teams. But, I mean, yeah, we're very fond of Robert Saleh, so it makes sense that people are interested in bringing him back to the fold. Mr. Corey says, can you imagine Purdy with a good center and right tackle? Scary. Yeah, you know what? I think that Jake Brendel has made some mistakes this year. I'm going to go and say that I think Colt McKivitz has played pretty well. I think that there's a couple of plays a game where you shake your head and it's like, Colton, how'd you get smoked on those two plays? But beyond that, he plays pretty well. He's run blocked extremely well this season. And I think when it comes to pass protection, he has his lapses in judgment, or overall, he doesn't succeed as well as he should. But for the most part, he competes. And as an offensive lineman, you know that you're going to get measured by your worst reps. But there's so much consistency in what he does and how well he plays. Do I think that you would always love to improve at every single position you're capable of improving? Yes. But I think Colt McKivitz has done a good job this year and actually improved a little bit. So kind of okay with Colt McKivitz. I think Brendel's had some key moments this year, especially over the last 2 weeks, that have been pretty bad penalties and stuff that I wish he was better at. Filthy Casual says, how do you think our defensive line did? I think they did their job. They played stout against the run, you know, and you're playing guys like Evan Anderson, you know, he's coming up from the practice squad. So I thought they did a pretty good job. I thought Bosa and Floyd consistently brought pressure off the edge. I thought Robert Beal Jr. showed up today, which was really nice. We haven't really seen Kalia Davis flash like he did in the preseason, but let's see what happens. This is his second game. We'll see what he ends up becoming. I thought that there was a concern about them being able to get the run game going today with what was going on with the injury to Jordan Elliott and what was going to happen, you know, with that backup defensive line unit. But I thought they did a pretty good job. So overall, it's pretty fond of it. Mr. Corey says, I'm ready to see Pearsall. How about you all? We are all ready. We want to see Pearsall out there, want to see what he can do. And David says, thanks for keeping it real, Ant. Love your reason takes. I really appreciate it. You know, and I'm excited about everyone that comes in chat and has their opinions that they have. You have different opinions than me. That's fine. Everyone's entitled to their opinions. But yeah, I mean, I'm just got to say it, you know, kind of like how I see it. But also from the coaching perspective is it's usually not as bad as you think. And it's usually not as good as you think. But I saw some cool stuff, you know, from the Niners today, some stuff to build on. And I think we saw a little bit better execution from the 49ers offense than we've seen last week. And so that's really good news for this team. And they're going to keep getting better. And, you know, that's the whole thing. They got to keep getting better every single week. And, you know, Lou says Floyd just hasn't shown that much yet. I expected a little bit more. I think when you're looking for sack numbers, you're right. He hasn't showed sack numbers. But when you look at the amount of pressures that he got last week, you look at the fact that he was bearing down, you know, Kyler Murray's throat last week at the end of the game. And you see the things that he did today in the run game, putting pressure on, you know, on the quarterback and Geno Smith. I think he's done a lot except for sack numbers. That's the part that's really been a problem, has been the sack numbers. But it's not all measured by sack numbers because some of the times you get pressures and it influences turnovers. And so that's exactly what happened. Mark says, I miss CMC, but can we talk about Shanahan being able to do with backs on the roster? I think we forget that Shanny took this team to a Super Bowl with a running back by committee in the past. He definitely did. And you're right. It seems like anytime he puts somebody in, they end up getting something done. It's very reminiscent of what his dad did in the 90s with the Denver Broncos. You get these undrafted free agents. I mean, Jordan Mason right now, and I know he's played in week 6 and no one else has, is leading the league in rushing. And he's going to miss an entire half of a football game. So definitely they get it done and they develop these players. And Bobby Turner's a big reason why, but also Shanahan's system. They draft certain players that fit the system, and then they take advantage of those players within the system, and it works. And you're seeing Jordan Mason do it. Now, Garendo is a lot more raw within the system, but you see the potential of what he could be. You're like, wow, he's got explosive ability to him. He's a big physical back who can run through arm tackles and get extra yards after contact. There's a lot to like. And he's got a lot of tread left on the tires, not a lot of carries in his career. So, yeah, I love the way they draft. I love the players that they get to play. Pretty good stuff. What's up to Peter Lucas? How's it going? He said, what's up, fam? Always good to have the Niner Fanatic podcast in the house. And if you haven't checked it out, go check it out. Peter does good work. And Filthy Casual said, did Evan Anderson play? Do you think he should get a roster spot with all the injuries? He did play. I don't believe he deserves a roster spot right now. I think that you roll with the 4 guys you got: Jordan Elliott, Malik Collins, Kalia Davis, and Kevin Gibbons. That's your 4-man rotation. Unfortunately, Jordan Elliott wasn't ready to go. But I do think Evan Anderson is a guy that he can compete for a spot next year. I like his big physicality. I like his body. So we'll see what happens. Lou says, Ant, thanks. I'm out. See you later, Lou. Thanks for coming through. Appreciate it. WTM says, Coach Ant, what grade do you give Mr. Purdy? It was A+, and a lot of people might scoff at that, but being able to navigate that crowd in Seattle, being able to make the precision passes he needed to make, extend plays with his legs when things weren't working out down the field. He found open receivers. He made big-time throws and didn't turn over the football. It's an A for me. I love it. A+, in fact. Mr. Carson, kudos, Ant, for bringing up Beal Jr. I seen him out there, but didn't know who he was playing well tonight. He was doing a good job today. And yeah, got to give credit to Beal Jr. He's not going to get a lot. Beal Jr. has been criticized a lot. And I thought that he played well, and he's done a pretty good job against the run. I would still love to see him be able to get more pressure off the edge. Because, the GTFO stat, everything was created for him, but he hasn't figured that part of it out yet. But at least if he can be a stable run defender that 49ers can count on, that'll be huge. So, yeah, that's going to be big time. And, guys, I'd like to thank you guys all for coming through. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I really appreciate it. This episode is brought to you by Bet Online. The game starts here. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Until then, stay safe. Remember, the right way is always the 49ers way.